Fairness beyond the verdict. In a constitutional democracy, fairness is not judged only by the final decision of the court. It is also judged by how the process works, who controls it, and whether the institutions function independently. Even when a case reaches a lawful conclusion, public confidence depends on transparency, distance, and neutrality of the systems involved. Today's topic of discussion, therefore, looks beyond outcomes and focuses on the fairness of institutional processes, which is essential for sustaining trust in the rule of law. Let us consider the case regarding alleged irregularities in the Andhra Pradesh Skill Development Corporation. Shri N. Chandrababu Naidu was arrested, remanded, and later released on bail based on health grounds. After he became the Chief Minister of Andhra Pradesh, the CID filed a final report saying that there was no evidence and that the case was a mistake of fact. The court accepted this report and closed the case. This decision is final in law and must be respected. From a legal point of view, the matter ends here. But from a constitutional and public interest point of view, it does not seem to be well settled and satisfactory. This is the case of a former Chief Minister who remained in prison for nearly 50 days. Arguments were addressed by senior counsel, including senior advocate Siddharth Luthra. This leads to legitimate questions such as what material and documents were placed before the court at the stage of arrest and remand. If there was no evidence at the end, then on what basis did the court initially agree to the remand? These questions do not concern guilt or innocence, nor do they cast any aspersions on the courts or investigating agencies. However, the situation brings into focus a larger constitutional concern. Can an individual, particularly in a high-profile matter, be arrested and remanded on the basis of allegations alone? Indian criminal law permits arrest and remand based on prima facie material at an early stage. However, when the case later ends with the finding of mistake of fact, it raises an important question about whether the arrests were truly necessary, how decisions were made, and how evidence was evaluated in practice. The concern, therefore, is not personal but systemic, about the quality of material placed before the courts at the pre-trial stages, and about checks and balances between investigation and personal liberty. Further, we should also talk about a well-known legal maxim, nemo judex in causa sua. It means no one should be a judge in his or her own case. This principle is a part of natural justice. It clearly points to the fact that no person should decide a case in which he himself has an interest. Further, it also pushes that the systems and institutions must avoid situations where there is reasonable doubt of bias. Indian courts have repeatedly said that justice should not only be done, it should also appear to be done. And if the appearance seems to be biased, it can damage public confidence. In this case, executive control raises a perception issue. The police, CID, and prosecution function under the state executive, which is lawful. However, when a person earlier under investigation later assumes the office of Chief Minister and the proceedings are subsequently concluded within the same administrative framework, questions of institutional perception may arise. Public perception is extremely important. Article 14 of the Constitution guarantees equality before law, and Article 21 guarantees fair and just procedure. Fairness is not only about the final result, it is also about who investigates, who controls the investigation, and whether the system is free from influence. In cases involving large public money, powerful political leaders, and serious allegations, it is common to adopt extra safeguarding measures, such as involving independent agencies, court monitoring, or special prosecutors insulated from executive control. When such safeguards are not implemented, public questions are natural and reasonable. All I'm trying to say is that the AP skill development case may be closed in law, but it leaves behind important constitutional questions. It reminds us that fairness lies not only in the outcomes, but in the integrity, independence, and restraint of the process itself. Arrest and remand must always meet the highest standard of necessity and evidence. Ultimately, the true test of our democracy is not how the power is exercised, but how liberty is protected.